Hello everybody, Michael here again for another game with our Evo Aggro deck. Luckily, we finally pulled one that is not mono black. I actually had to play a few games of mono black to actually get one without mono black, but I didn't want to put you guys through another mono black loss, so hopefully we can pull out a win with this one. This is actually going to be against blue-white control. Now, I was a little worried when I saw that was blue-white control because I know how strong it is, and a lot of our creatures being the same, we are pretty susceptible to something like Detention Sphere, as well as just, like with any type of deck that has mass removal or something, it definitely makes our deck a little bit harder to play, but I'm actually pretty proud of how I played this one. I'm generally not that good at playing control decks, so I was definitely glad to be a little bit better in this one, and let us get going. So we have to mulligan this starting hand. We have a Guildgate for our only land. If we would have had maybe 2 lands, it would have been a good hand. This one is good. I like this one because it allows us to do the Experiment one and Rakdos Cackler. I didn't want to play Experiment one right away, so I was fine with getting the Guildgate because I wanted to get the Guildgate out of the way to match the speed of his deck, because he doesn't have a turn 1 play. He's playing control. He can just chill, and I can at least hopefully get some good draws in the first few turns. Apologies for the little split there. I had to edit it. My Skype thing came up and it was a little bit, and it was in the way, and I didn't want to show off any personal information of the person in Skype, so I apologize, but you didn't miss anything. Pretty much all I did was I played another land, and then I played my Experiment one, followed by my Rakdos Cackler Unleashed, which evolved my Experiment one, so now I have two twos on the field, and then I play another Guildgate. And so usually I have a problem with overextending, but I'm really glad of how I play this one. I tried to avoid overextending because I just had to play around Supreme Verdict. Supreme Verdict was pretty much going to be his winning condition against my deck. If I overextended and he just wiped my board, depending on the, what turn it is, there'd probably be no way I could get back. So I did get my Rakdos Cackler sacked, so I just put out my Gorehouse Chainwalker to evolve it again. So I have 6 damage on the board, so it is something that he has to deal with. He is on a 3-turn clock, and this is where I'm really expecting Supreme Verdict or something similar. And he plays a Jace, which I'm happy with. I'm perfectly fine with that. He minus 2s it to probably start finding more answers. He only have 4 cards in his hand, so he probably wants to start refilling his deck. He pulls an Essence Scatter, which I separate from Quicken and Island. I'd rather just have him have the counter or just have Quicken and Island. And luckily he takes the Island and Quicken, which sort of tells me that he does have Supreme Verdict in hand, because I really play a lot of control players who like using that Supreme Verdict combined with Quicken on my turn, sort of board wipe. And so this is where I would normally probably overextend. I would probably just play my Rakdos Cackler and try and get some damage in, but I really don't want to force Supreme Verdict. I want to, get him down as close as I can to death before I can sort of pop that Gore-Clan Rampager and sort of push for the win, or at least play a lot more aggressively. And I noticed he's tapped out, so then I was like, maybe I will just play Gore-Clan Rampager now, just so he doesn't Supreme Verdict Supreme Verdict Quicken on my turn when I actually do want to use it. So I actually paid attention to this game because I'm not very good at playing control, so I was really glad on how this match went. We get another Rakdos Cackler, so again, normally I might have overextended and played both of them at the same time, but now I have 6 damage on board. I can just keep smacking away at him and force him to actually, at some point, which I think is now, use his Quicken Supreme Verdict, because he's taking 6 damage every turn right now, and so he is going to do the Quicken Supreme Verdict, but that's fine. He uses 2 cards to do that. And he has to empty out his whole hand, which allows me to play my Rakdos Cackler to avoid sort of any Essence Scatters or anything like that. So we do have to do that, and it works out quite well for us. I decide here to just play out my hand now. Since he just used his Supreme Verdict, I sort of doubted he had a second one in hand. I was just sort of willing to take that risk, because it was at a point where 2 damage each turn from here on out probably won't do the job, and I really need to sort of just get my guys out there. Sadly, he does get Detention Sphered, so it does take out both of them, which I definitely hint at bringing in those Destructive Revelries. That's what they're for. We do pull a land, but being this far behind, and even if we started pulling creatures, I don't think we would have gotten back. So I concede the game and move on to the next one, just hopefully having a better draw. I bring in the Ranger's Gal to protect us from those detention spheres if we don't have Destructive Revelry in hand. I bring in the Skullcracks as well. Oh, well, the Skullcrack, just for the Sphinx's Revelation. I did not see this game, but I do know he has one. There's no reason why he wouldn't be playing that card in the blue-white control. I take out my Rebel Belt Raiders to make room, because I feel Rebel Belt Raiders is just too slow. And him having board wipes, stuff like Bow of Nylea is useless, and Rebel Bolt Raiders is just way too slow to get going. So using these small evolve triggers like we just did last game, hopefully we can get a better start, but that's sort of what I want to do against this type of deck, is get those early evolve triggers off on Experiment 1, and then hopefully get into around a 3-3, maybe with something like Gorehouse Chainwalker, similar to what we had before, and then just use the Gore Clan Rampagers and our Rebel Belt Makas to just sort of pump and swing in for the win, because every time we do that, we're at least swinging for 5 damage, and it's really, really nice, and puts him on a really, really fast pace and a lot of pressure. So that was the plan with this sideboard option. I also took out 1 burst of strength. I decided to keep 1 burst of strength in there because it has saved me sometimes from when I do have my Experiment 1 out, and it only has 1 counter on it, and they do Supreme Verdict. I can pop that burst of strength, get another counter on there, and regenerate him. So it does sort of save him, and that's why I only included 1, just for those rare circumstances. Now, we could have kept this hand. It would have been nice to have another land as well in that one, but we have to mulligan to 6. I do keep this hand. It was a little bit risky. We had 2 guild gates, but we do have a turn 1 play, and it still gives us some decent lands so we can start trying to pull something. And we do have Gore Clan Rampager, which is definitely one of our key sort of cards in this matchup. We definitely want to try and use it to pressure, and we definitely want to try to use it to swing in for as much damage as we can. Sadly, we hit a land drop, and now is the point where we definitely just don't want to have any more land. We just can't afford to. We need to start pulling, relatable things to this match. We can't just have land. That's not going to help us. And of course we pull into more land, so we have to just keep on swinging for 2. Rakdos Cackler is going to hopefully carry us all the way, swinging for 2 damage, so he is on a 8-turn clock. So much pressure from that 2 damage. But I like Rakdos Cackler. He's my boy. He's gotten me through a lot of stuff. So we pull a Ranger's Gal, that's alright. We can always save it for if we do get a creature out there we want to protect. We can do the Ranger's Gal to protect it. I was debating on playing Gore Clan Rampager, but he has 3 mana up. I didn't really want to risk just it having Essence Scatter or something, take it down. Or Syncopate or something like that. So I decided against it. I decided, just swing in for 2 damage. Eventually he's going to have to answer it, and eventually I can get some stuff down. But we did grab a Rebel Belt Maka, which is definitely what we want. We want those pumps, and we hopefully can just keep swinging in and swinging in. So here I discard, and here's where I figure out that those discard options actually aren't able to get countered because they're effects. Using them as discard options, which is nice. I didn't realize that. I thought that was sort of actually casting it, so I was worried it was going to get countered, but luckily it wasn't. And we get a swing in for an extra damage. So we do have the Detention Sphere, but luckily we brought in Ranger's Gals, which is exactly what this situation's for. For in the off chance we don't have Destructive Revelry, we have Ranger's Gal. So it helps protect us against that Detention Sphere. And he also used 3 mana, and he concedes here because he probably doesn't have a Sphinx's Revelation, and he's way too far behind. Plus we had a Gore Clan Rampager, and we were just going to be swinging in for 6 damage next turn, and if he didn't concede then, he would have conceded then when I swung in for 6 more damage. So it's funny enough, Rakdos Cackler, our only creature on the board, but it got us there thanks to pumps from Rebel Belt Maka. And Ranger's Gal definitely saved our butt. We probably could have just let it die and then play Gore Clan Rampager, but it's definitely better that we had that out still. So here is another risk hand. I generally don't like keeping 4 mana hands, especially with this deck. I like to have at least turn 1, 2, and possibly 3 plays in my hand. But it was a risk I was willing to take. I haven't been having good luck mulliganing with this deck, so I wanted to sort of risk it. We have Clan Defiance to sort of finish off him. We have Destructive Revelry for that Detention Sphere. And so we decided to just sort of play the Rakdos Cackler out, and hopefully, because last game he carried us all the way home, hopefully he can do it this time. And we did pull our Grow Clan Rampager, so far it was looking good for me, and it definitely was doing its, Rakdos Cackler definitely does its job, just sort of creating a little tiny bit of pressure that he definitely has to answer at some point. And it's nice that we pulled 2 pumps. So I decided to just waste it here, just start getting some pressure on. Swinging in for 5 damage is a lot of damage. A quarter of his health gone already, and this is definitely where we want to be. We want to be putting as much pressure on as possible, but we don't want to do it in so much that we overextend. So this is sort of why I like this deck. Well, now I definitely like it even more now that I know Blood Rush isn't something that can get countered, since it's an effect. So Heat Detention Sphere is exactly what we want. We have Destructive Revelry, we can get it back, but I actually don't play it just yet because of our next draw. I have Experiment 1. Now, my plan was to Experiment 1 and then... See, I was about to Destructive Revelry there, but I was like... We pulled out Experiment 1. Now, I'm just wondering, does Detention Sphere actually make Experiment 1 enter the battlefield again? And it does. So, I figured playing Experiment 1 first and then Destructive Revelrying sometime later on, it would allow us to get an Evolve trigger off of Experiment 1. So I want to get as much value out of it as I can. Now, there could be an argument that I should have just done it right now, while he's tapped out, but I was really worried because he was on 3 mana and he only needed one more mana to Supreme Verdict, and then I would not be in the best situation. I would be forced to play my Grow Clan Rampager as a creature, and I'd rather just have it as a pump to finish and put on pressure. So in this strategy, we're sort of trying to just sneak up on him. So we're trying to put him in a situation where we're just ticking him away for a little bit of life each turn, and he's not feeling like he's going to be under much threat until we sort of play those pumps and he realizes, oh crap, I should have done this or done that. So we do actually swing in for a few turns, and well, except this turn, I guess not. I think I played Grow Clan Rampager there because that was when I realized, oh yeah, these things can't get countered, so let us just try and play the aggro route and be as aggressive as we can. So there he has his Supreme Verdict mana. Sadly, we pull a land. We definitely want to start pulling more creatures because we have nothing to evolve our Experiment 1, and again, I definitely am trying to play around Supreme Verdict. So I don't want to Destructive Revelry just yet because I'm just sort of wary of that. Ticking down for 1 and forcing him to use a Supreme Verdict on just 1 creature and then having me use Destructive Revelry is much better situation for us. And he's already at 8 mana, so either he's going to have to Supreme Verdict early or he's going to have to Sphinx's Revelation early. And since we have Clan Defiance, that's pretty much what I'm saving it for, is when he does tap out for like Supreme Verdict or something like that, or whatever, if I can take him down low enough, I can possibly finish him off with Clan Defiance, which is sort of what we want. Or if he taps out for like a Jace or something like that, just one of those situations. So here I was worried, I think, a little bit, because now he's starting to gain his mana, he's starting to get his momentum, and it's possible that he could come back from this. So I definitely had to play these a little bit more carefully, and again, there could have been an argument for probably destructive Revelrying a little bit earlier, but I decided to go this route and see what happens there. So here I thought he was going to Supreme Verdict, which I thought would be nice, but he just ends up playing Jace. Luckily, we get a pretty nice pull next, and he doesn't +1 it, so he doesn't get. So our Experiment 1 can still do a little bit of damage. So here's where I Destructive Revelry. Oh no, he did +1 it. So here's where we Destructive Revelry, because I know that we can get him in range of our Clan Defiance, because I was just going to Burst of Strength as well as Destructive Revelry does 2 to him already. So Burst of Strengthening the Experiment 1 as well just sort of saves me in the off chance he does play Supreme Verdict. I can regenerate him once the Rakdos Cackler gets into play. But, he realizes he's a little bit too far behind. We did luckily out-aggro him just barely, and we luckily pull out the win there. It was sort of a close one. He definitely could have came back if he had a little bit more answers. But I think the fact that I actually, for once, against the control deck, played it a little bit more conservatively and really played around Supreme Verdict, because I realized Supreme Verdict is probably the sort of worst thing that can happen to my deck. So I definitely had to play around it, and it paid off. I was really glad on how this match went, and this deck proved quite well. It played really aggressively when I wanted it to, and it allowed me to sort of adjust my play and play a little bit more conservatively while still having stuff up to replay right after. So yeah, definitely hope you guys enjoyed watching this. Finally got something that's not mono black devotion, and finally got a win. So I'll probably look for one more game hopefully, and if not, I definitely hope you guys enjoyed watching these videos, and I'm definitely glad to be here. Thanks a lot to Kevin again for having me, and I definitely hope to have some more content out here in the future. So thank you guys for watching, and have a great day.